been joining us. You know, we're talking about seed starting right now, so I thought I'd take you through some of the equipment that you might find very helpful and useful to have before you start your seeds. So you'll want to gather these things before you even get started. So a couple of things to start with. We want to have something to put our seeds in. We need some kind of container system. So this is what's called a pony pack. These ones are made out of plastic. You can get things that are biodegradable. You can use whatever makes you happy. You can use peat pots. You could do soil blocking. Whatever works for you. You just have to have some kind of system and some kind of container in order to start your seeds. You want to make sure that they have good drainage. So you can see I've got drainage holes here. And I've also got a tray for these to go into, and you can see that the tray also has drainage holes. And that's really important. If we let water sit in these containers while our seeds germinate, we can end up with diseases, we can end up with all kinds of problems. So drainage is very important. So whatever you use, if you have to poke holes in the bottom, whatever you use, that works out well. Other things you need, some way to label. I use popsicle sticks with a Sharpie marker, works out great. And then when I go to transfer things into the garden, I know what I've got where, because sometimes in a system like this, I'll have sometimes 3, sometimes 2 different kinds of plants in that system, and I want to make sure that they're labeled well. Another thing is a plastic dome. This should just go right down over whatever system you're using, and this will help to keep moisture and humidity in with our seeds. So to get seeds to germinate, we have to have moisture so that they'll imbibe, and that means that the seed is taking up all of that water and swelling. And then we have to keep that kind of stable while these seeds germinate and get going and put down root systems. And it's very, very important that we maintain that moisture, but not too much moisture. So that's where that drainage comes in. Another thing that you may want to pick up is a heat mat. So these are really nice heat mats. They can be a little bit pricey, but these will go right underneath the system that you're using. So I would slide my system right on top of this mat, and that is going to provide heat. Now you can pick up a thermostat that goes on the end of this heat mat that will let you dial in the temperature really, really well. So if you want to be at 70 degrees or 65 degrees for your soil temperature, because some seeds need different soil temperatures to germinate the best. So you may want to pick up one of those so that you can get some really good control of the environment of the seedlings. The other thing, and this is the thing that people tend to skimp on, because it's expensive, and I know it is, but the most important thing is light. And so this is the one piece that you should not skimp on. This is an LED light. It is a pretty high-end light. I went kind of for the gusto here because we're going to be using this a lot at the USU Botanical Center. And let me plug it in and show you what it does. It's pretty cool, but we want to make sure we have a good light source, something that has full spectrum light, which means all the colors in the rainbow, or you can use red and blue light together. Plants don't take up green light, they reflect green light, so that's the one piece that we don't necessarily need. So this is a full spectrum light, and it has some pretty cool controls. I can control the brightness, so you can see I get brighter and less bright, and I can also control the warmth, so I can do a little more red light, I can do more blue light, or I can be right in between. So I'm actually going to run this right in between. But I want to make sure that I have the light, I have it available. Some seeds need light to germinate, so it's important that I have that light on right from the get-go. And then once they germinate and start going, I want that light to be right above my seeds, so an inch or 2 above where my seedlings are and where they're coming up. I don't want them to touch the light, but I want it to be right above. So a window typically isn't enough light, so you might have to invest in a really good light. So those are some of the things that will help you get started. I'm in our brand new high tunnel here at the USU Botanical Center that we're using for propagation. It's so nice to have a space to do this. We're going to be finishing up talking about seed starting today. So we're actually going to start some seeds. We'll check in with the seeds as time goes on, show you how things are going, show you what failed, show you what's working, all of that stuff. So last week we talked about containers. I have my containers here ready to go. I have a nice lightweight, you can kind of see how light it is, really lightweight soil, mainly made up of peat moss, some compost. There's a bunch of perlite and vermiculite in here, which are minerals that help us hold water and open up pore spaces in the soil so that it doesn't compact and so that we can move water and air through the soil. So I'm going to fill up my little pony pack here, And there's not a lot of big pieces in the soil. It is really, really fine, which is important because I've got teeny tiny roots that are going to be going through this soil. So I'm going to fill it up. I'm not going to pack it down really, just barely, so that I know that it's filled. And then I'm going to grab my seeds. Now the seeds I'm planting today are digitalis, and I'm planting so early because I read the seed packet. Now the seed packet is really, really important. You should read this top to bottom. You should do some research online because there are a few key things that it will tell you here. Number one, how many weeks in advance to your last frost to plant. This one says 10 to 12 weeks before I plant it out in the garden, it needs to be started. So January feels early, but when I look at 10 to 12 weeks, that's the right timing. So I want to make sure that I do that. It also tells you your planting depth. This is a tiny, tiny seed, and it's going to go right on the top of the soil. And I'm not really going to cover it up because it also tells me it needs light to be able to germinate. So I need to make sure I have light available for these seedlings to germinate. So I'm going to show you, hopefully, how teeny, teeny, tiny these seeds are. I mean, look at this. They're so small. So a little bulbular planter would help, bulbular seeder would help you for sure. I'm going to be a little bit crazy and I'm going to do it by hand, and I just take 2 or 3 in my fingers and I twist my fingers so slowly until I see 1, maybe 2 drop down. I mean, you want to be really judicious. Seeds are expensive, and especially some of these cut flower varieties are expensive, so we don't want to waste seeds. So after we get that done, and put this back, put it back in the right packet so I know what it is. Sometimes these little tiny seeds come in wax paper bags inside your seed packet. Now I'm going to put a material called perlite. I've already mentioned that, but I'm going to do a little scattering of perlite over the top of these seeds. I'm not going to do it heavy, really, really light. This is going to help me to hold in a little bit of moisture so that these seeds can germinate, but it's not going to impede the light. I'm also going to water these seeds from the bottom up. I am going to get the soil initially wet very, very lightly and then water from the bottom up so that I don't disturb the soil and cover up the seeds, because we've got to have that light to germinate. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label. In this tray, I've got 2 different varieties. I've got a pink and I've got a white digitalis. I want to make sure that I know which one's which, so when I go to plant them out in our cut flower garden, it all makes sense. So these are going to go on the heat mat. They're also going to go under a light. That light's going to be right on top, a few inches, 1 or 2 inches above this tray, so that we can get good light for good germination.